Hey, yo, Katt Williams. When did they start selling pimp clothes at Baby Gap? My nigga over there drinking that Hennessy out of that little sippy cup. Hey, yo, Carrot Top, who in the fuck let the bride of Chucky up in this?
Snoop Dogg just got hit with a warning, and this one didn't come from the cops or a rapper looking for drama. It came straight from Katt Williams himself. Katt Williams, the dude who never bites his tongue, never hides his real feelings, and never switches up for anybody, stepped forward and called Snoop out for what he says looks like a full-on sellout move. Katt even said Snoop's out here turning into a political dog, and the moment he said it, the energy in the room changed instantly. Katt didn't water anything down. He didn't blink, he didn't hesitate. He looked right at the camera and said, "No, sir.
Just want to say this real quick, man, on the political shit. All you people for the federal government that not getting paid right now, ain't no fucking way in the world y'all can vote for Donald Trump when he come back up again. If y'all do vote for him, y'all some stupid mother.
Career down the road, people might not want to book you in Texas or Arizona or California. Wouldn't that be fantastic? Let that happen. That wasn't a joke. That wasn't shade. That was Katt throwing a direct warning at one of hip-hop's biggest names, and everybody could feel the tension in his voice. When Katt speaks, it's not for clout. He doesn't move like that. He's not chasing headlines. He's not doing skits for attention. He drops truth when he feels like something real is going on behind the scenes. And in his eyes, Snoop is stepping into a dangerous lane, a lane where friendships, power moves, and honest loyalty don't always line up the way people think. Katt made it sound like Snoop got caught up in a world where shaking hands with the wrong folks can change your whole image overnight. Katt's been on a streak lately, exposing Hollywood energy like nobody else. He's been calling out fake smiles, secret deals, and the quiet stuff people don't want the public to know. Steve Harvey, Cedric, D.L. Hughley, he went down
your career down the road. People might not want to book you in Texas or Arizona or California.
Sir. Wouldn't that be fantastic? Let's let that
on the list like he was reading off receipts, and nobody was shielded from the smoke. But the second he mentioned Snoop Dogg, everything got silent. The air got tight, because Snoop isn't just a comedian or a talk show host, he's a symbol. A legend who walked from death row records to family-friendly TV, from neighborhood corners to shaking hands with world leaders. That kind of climb holds weight, and everybody knows it. And people still remember when Snoop once said, "Now don't know political shit, all you people from the federal government that ain't getting paid right now." That was the Snoop who didn't care about being polished. That was the Snoop who spoke for everyday people in real struggle. But the way Katt framed it, that Snoop is long gone. Katt made it sound like somewhere along the journey, Snoop stopped moving with that same raw energy and started acting more comfortable around powerful circles. Katt wasn't attacking him, he was pointing out the switch. He was saying the dog the world grew up with might not be the same dog standing next to politicians today. And the way...
Of course, Snoop has responded to the backlash he received for performing for a Trump event. One of the things he pointed out was that we always stick together. We're good at tearing each other apart, which is pretty constant. It's pretty consistent when somebody gets into trouble. It takes backlash from the community. It's always a communal thing. It isn't any action they took. It is the fact that we can't stay together, that we can't stick together, that it's us always attacking us. But that flies in the face of the reality of what's happening right now. It is not us who are tearing down affirmative action. It is not us who is tearing down DEI. It is not us who are tearing families apart. It is not us who have decided that affirmative action and rollbacks that have been that had precedent for 50, 60 years are gone. It is not us that is doing it. It is, I think most people are disappointed because they saw you a specific way, and you have a right to kind of interpret and do whatever artistically you want to. No one's begrudging you that. But why the attack on the community because they disagree with something you did?
Katt said it. You could tell he wasn't impressed, he was disappointed, almost making it seem like Snoop traded his voice for a seat at a bigger table. This ain't the same Snoop who stood shoulder to shoulder with Pac and walked through the whole death row madness like it was nothing. This is a new Snoop, the one who kicks it with Martha Stewart, pops up in insurance commercials, and promotes pet food like he's running a daytime network. A lot of people look at him now and ask themselves, what happened to the dog who made the streets feel seen and proud? Now you've got a Snoop who's rubbing elbows with politicians, CEOs, and high-power circles, and to Katt Williams, that don't look like elevation, that looks like switching up. Katt doesn't see it as leveling up, he sees it as stepping away from everything that made Snoop iconic in the first place. The man who once rapped about surviving real danger is now shaking hands with the same system he used to question, and that's exactly what made Katt snap and speak out. He feels like somewhere along the line, the original Snoop got covered up by fame, money, and too many polished public moments. But don't get it confused, Katt never denied Snoop's greatness. He's always acknowledged that Snoop opened the door for a whole generation, took street culture global, and made power moves that nobody ever thought possible. Snoop made good living look smooth, cool, and effortless. But in Katt's eyes, that spark that once made him unforgettable started fading. That fearless voice, that real energy, that
Snoop is just really hilarious.
Snoop Dogg is funny,
He's doing all these things.
So ain't nobody gonna perform for Donald Trump, huh? Which one of you jigaboo niggas gonna be the first one to do it? I'm waiting. I'm gonna roast the out one of you Uncle Tom ass niggas for doing it. Which one of you?
Honesty that used to come straight from the heart. Back then, Snoop stood against the system with pride, not smiling beside it for photo ops. And in today's world, where real voices get quieted, misled, or paid to play along, Katt refuses to sit silent. He's calling everything exactly how he sees it, loud, bold, and with no fear of who gets offended. When Katt talks, it shakes the room because he says what everyone else is scared to say out loud. That's why folks are asking how this tension even started between these two legends in the first place. So let's run it back and break it down. In the early 2000s, Snoop Dogg was a force nobody could touch. He survived the storm of Death Row Records, avoided all the traps that swallowed other artists, and built a whole empire around his name. He wasn't just a rapper anymore, he was a full movement on his own. Every major figure in hip-hop showed him love: Jay-Z, Ice Cube, 50 Cent, and plenty more. Snoop became that respected OG, the big uncle of the culture, the dude everyone admired for surviving everything and still keeping his cool. But then, everything started shifting. Fans began noticing little changes at first, then bigger ones. Snoop began popping up at political events, shaking hands with powerful...
Was inaugurated as the 47th president of the United States of America. Snoop Dogg performed at the Crypto Ball. Now, Snoop Dogg, he got the backlash because people are like, wait, this isn't the same Snoop from 2016 who had so much to say about the artist performance.
...figures and defending certain celebrities while staying completely quiet about others. He started supporting brands, public figures, and causes that didn't sit right with the people who'd been riding with him since the beginning. That's when Katt said the warning signs started flashing, the type that make you wonder if someone's still being themselves or just performing for the cameras. And that's when Katt dropped one of the coldest lines he's ever said. When they can't control you, they cancel you. And when they can't cancel you, they recruit you. In Katt's eyes, that's exactly what happened to Snoop. He believes the industry stopped trying to break him and instead pulled him into the machine. The real tension kicked in when Katt started paying attention to how Snoop reacted to the biggest conversations happening in hip-hop. When artists were getting shut out or pushed aside, Snoop stayed quiet. When people were trying to expose shady industry behavior, he stepped in trying to keep the peace. And whenever folks talked about being taken advantage of, Snoop didn't say a word, like the situation didn't concern him at all. But the second Hollywood threw a fancy award show or celebrity event, there was Snoop again, dressed up, smiling, and standing right in the middle of the spotlight. To Katt, that didn't look like loyalty. It looked like someone protecting his place at the table instead of standing up for the people who once supported him. And that's what cut the deepest. Because for someone like Katt Williams,
Yeah. Get your life right. Stop worrying about mine. I'm cool. I'm together. Still a black man. Still 100% black.
who built his whole career on truth and honesty, Snoop's silence on real issues felt like a straight-up letdown. So when Katt Williams said, "I'm sending Snoop his last warning, stop being a political dog," he meant every word. That wasn't a joke or a punchline. That was a challenge aimed directly at someone he once respected. Katt was drawing a line in the sand, basically telling Snoop, choose where you stand. In Katt's world, there are only two types of dogs, the street dog and the political dog. The street dog is loyal, hungry, and fearless, the type that speaks the truth even when it hurts. But the political dog? That one's trained, polished, obedient, a performer built to follow rules and keep the system smiling. Katt says Snoop used to move like the first one, wild, real, unpredictable, the type of voice the streets trusted. But now, Katt feels like Snoop's acting more like the second type, a man protecting the system instead of challenging it. And honestly, you can't act like there's no truth in what Katt's pointing out. These days, Snoop is on TV more than he's in the booth. He's hosting cooking shows instead of pulling up at community events, promoting products instead of pushing messages. He's evolved into a brand, one of the biggest in entertainment, but Katt's asking the question nobody else wants to ask out loud. At what cost? Now, Katt's not knocking success, not even close. He's asking something deeper. What kind of growth are we talking about here? Did Snoop grow as a human being or just expand as a company? Because there's a big difference between maturing as a man and becoming so polished you forget where you came from. And coming from Katt Williams, a guy who built his name on honesty, that question hits like a punch to the chest. See, Katt never cared about fame or approval. He never played Hollywood's game. People tried to blacklist him, embarrass him, even throw him in jail. but he kept talking. No matter how hard they pushed back, arrested, mocked, banned, he stayed loud with his truth. That's why so many people trust him today, because he doesn't have strings attached or anyone pulling his moves. Katt's not scared of losing fans or losing checks. What truly scares him is what happens when people stop speaking real truth out loud. And here's where things get deeper. Snoop and Katt have history. They didn't grow up in opposite corners. They came up in the same culture. Both West Coast legends, one from the rap world, one from the comedy world, both respected heavily by the streets. Back in the 2000s, their energy was tight. Snoop always showed Katt love. They did radio shows together, cracked jokes at events, sat side by side in interviews. There was real mutual respect there. But over time, that whole vibe shifted. Katt started feeling something wasn't right. He noticed that while he was out here calling out Hollywood's pretenders, dropping names like Steve Harvey, D.L. Hughley, and Cedric the Entertainer, Snoop stayed completely quiet. Not one word, not even a hint of support. And what made it sting even more? While Katt was exposing those same folks, Snoop was out here taking photos with them like everything was cool and nothing needed to be questioned. To Katt, that didn't look like loyalty. It looked like betrayal dressed in designer jackets. Because if you really claim to stand on truth, you don't go silent when the moment calls for a real voice. That silence speaks loud, and Katt felt it in his chest. That's when Katt Williams drew his own line in the sand and said, "You can't be for the people and still shake hands with the puppeteers." And everybody knew exactly who he was, aiming that shot at straight towards Snoop. Katt wasn't trying to be subtle. He wasn't trying to be polite. He wanted that message to land hard and make Snoop feel it. And let's be real, this ain't the first time people have questioned Snoop's loyalty. Back in the wild days of Death Row Records, Snoop was a ride or die for the streets. He moved with loyalty, spoke straight from the heart, and never backed down from anything. But after Tupac passed, everything changed. Snoop started distancing himself from Suge Knight, stepping away from that whole storm and lining up with new connections. That move still gets people arguing today about where Snoop's loyalty truly sits. After breaking away from Death Row, Snoop linked up with Master P at No Limit, then slid into corporate lanes, and eventually stepped fully into the Hollywood spotlight. He's reinvented himself more times than any other rapper out here, and that's part of why he's still a giant today. But that same ability to switch lanes is also why so many people started giving him a side eye. Folks began to wonder if the dog who once barked loud for the streets was now barking on command for the system instead. See, Katt Williams ain't out here trying to tear down Snoop's success, not even a little bit. He's not jealous. He's questioning the soul behind all that success. He's basically saying, "You used to lead us, now you follow them." And that cuts deep because it's not about fame, it's about integrity. In Katt's eyes, Snoop stopped being the voice of regular people and turned into a polished brand, built to fit Hollywood's rules instead of breaking them. Now, Snoop hasn't clapped back at Katt, at least not yet, but the internet sure has, and people are completely split. Half the crowd is calling Katt bitter, jealous, or mad at anyone who made it big in the mainstream. They say Snoop's just being smart, evolving, adapting, and doing what he needs to do to survive in a tough industry. They argue he earned his seat at those tables after everything he survived in the early days. But the other half? They're riding with Katt hard, saying he's the only one brave enough to say what folks been whispering for years. They claim Snoop's been playing both sides, talking real while living corporate, preaching loyalty while rolling with whoever's paying the biggest check. And honestly, both sides might have a point, because this whole situation is bigger than just Katt and Snoop now. This is about what happens when fame and authenticity crash into each other. Snoop represents the survivor, the man who made it out, stayed relevant, and built a massive empire around his name. Katt represents the rebel, the one who won't bow down even if it costs him everything. It's two different worlds smashing into each other. One plays the game, the other exposes it. And right now, Katt's making it clear he thinks Snoop drifted too far into that system to come back untouched. When Katt Williams dropped that warning, it shook the whole internet loud, bold, and impossible to ignore. It felt like he wasn't just talking, he was signaling that something major might be on the way. Fans jumped online trying to decode his message was Katt, warning Snoop about karma, about the price you pay when you trade purpose for politics. Or was he warning him about the risk of playing both sides because sooner or later, both sides flip on you? There are a lot of people who feel like Katt Williams is just fed up, like he's finally tired of watching legends he once admired move like they're controlled by power instead of speaking truth. He's seeing people he respected get cozy inside the same system they used to challenge, and that frustrates him deeply. Katt once said, "The moment you stop talking for the people stop talking for you." And that's exactly what he's telling Snoop. No matter how famous or iconic you become, if the streets stop feeling your energy, then you've already lost. That's why this warning hits different, because for Katt, it's personal. It's not just about one rapper or one disagreement. It's about every entertainer who forgot their roots and switched up. Katt's sending out a bigger message: don't let them turn you into something you're not. Because once you lose your realness, once you let outside forces shape your voice, they don't need you anymore. And that's the truth Katt wants everyone to hear through all the noise and controversy. Snoop's journey shows just how complicated fame can get. The man has worn every hat: gangsta legend, businessman, peacemaker, comedian, actor, mogul, and he earned each one through hard work. Nobody can erase the mark he left on hip-hop because it's carved deep into the culture. But every time he switches